Well, that was a predictable race of unpredictability. George Russell taking the Mercedes from pole to top of the podium on the opening day of the season. But the first half of the race, it did seem like we could have had a fight for the win. Who would have known if during any of the three VSCs at the start of the race, the Ferraris pitted, they could have put up a fight to the end for the win. Charles Leclerc didn't think so and neither did Fred Vasseur, but maybe I'm just being a racing romantic. However, it's race 1 of the year and already Lewis Hamilton's questioning his team's race strategies. A comprehensive display from Russell today. Interesting to hear that he and Antonelli didn't have any battery power at the start of the race, but Mercedes have a brilliant car. Having had a god-awful ground effect era, the Silver Arrows have the best car on the grid, and when things died down during the end of the race after the Ferraris had pitted again, it was easy sailing for the team's first 1-2 since 2020. I love the car, I love the engine, George Russell exclaimed as he crossed the line. Sadly, his celebration was very cringe and in a way only British people can do, which is why, despite winning the race, George is my whopper of the day. Do better, George. Like the good old days, there was 20 cars on the grid, hometown boy Oscar Piastri out on the lap to the grid, leaving hundreds of thousands of Aussies depressed. Possibly a new curse to the sport, Charles has worked out how to drive around Monaco, now Oscar needs to master Melbourne. Having had a boost of power when it seemed the car had none, the car span and smashed into the wall. Having the boost whilst driving over a curb was the worst time possible. A share of the blame for both driver and car in this situation. It was also a shame to see Nico Hülkenberg net get onto the grid. Electrical problems for the German on Audi's debut in the sport. We all knew the start was going to be manic, the Ferraris living up to the hype with Charles going from P4 to lead the race at the first corner. And my god, it was quick. A shame for Kimi Antonelli who slipped all the way to P7. Elsewhere on the grid, Isaac Hadjar, but more impressively, Arvid Lindblad both ran for a second in P3. The young Brit looked accomplished on debut and could count himself lucky though, having slightly bumped wheels of Lewis, which could have ended with both of them out of the race. I do see there being an impactful change to something on the starts procedure for the next race, or at least a change later in the season. Antonelli's poor start was one thing, but Liam Lawson was a sitting duck a few rows back. Franco Colapinto doing unbelievably well to squeeze between the Red Bull and the wall. A poor start to the season for the Kiwi in what was a nothing burger of a race for him. However, Colapinto has been named the inaugural winner of my Move of the Weekend award, avoiding a massive crash which would have been a terrible start to both drivers' seasons. What the sport has had to sacrifice in, well, feeling like Formula 1 has, to be fair, made the racing rather a joy to watch. However, some of the energy management systems give the feeling of Max Verstappen versus Leclerc's DRS bunny game from 2020 opening race in Bahrain. Yes, it's great for overtakes to be seen and double the amount of last season's opening race, and the cars are actually following quite well, but it is a rather faux position. That being said, it was exciting and it needed to be, and a good start for the new era of the sport. Australia is probably one of the hardest tracks from the grid for the drivers to manage in this new style of driving, race winner George Russell confirming that, so who knows what will be the outcome in future races like next week in Beijing. But I think, unless you're Australian, we all had fun today. Starting in P20, Verstappen did what he does very well, and he got up to the top 10 by the first virtual safety car, which was brought out by Red Bull teammate Isaac Hadjar losing all power in his car. The Frenchman was running well in P5. I know it probably won't feel like it for the youngster, but he looks accomplished in that Red Bull. I put him 10th in my prediction and I'm feeling really silly already. After qualifying yesterday, Martin Brundle said that if you finish the race, you could be in the points. And well, I have to say, after 16 cars finished, I'm quietly surprised. The Aston Martin boys both did 2 runnings during the race. Fernando Alonso came into the pits on lap 14 whilst running in a half-decent position. He was in the top 10 after the first lap. He then came back out on lap 26, running 12 more laps before finally succumbing to the car. Lance Stroll did his extended pit stop from lap 38 to 51, much more running than we all thought would happen for the team that didn't even have a car qualify. Those extra laps could be massive at the end of the season. Virtual safety car number 2 came out when adopted Australian Valtteri Bottas was told to stop immediately on the grass inside pit entry. Realistically, the pit lane should have been closed straight away, but a minute-long hesitation allowed Lindblad, Ocon and Max all to change their tyres. A disastrous decision from the race directors in my opinion. Maybe we'll see this a lot more coming this season, drivers having to stop in less than manageable situations. Elsewhere on the grid, Sergio Perez and Liam Lawson started replaying their greatest hits, the Mexican having a duo of stewards investigations. Pushing the Kiwi off track as the Red Bull overtook the Cadillac, Checo's car started to break apart 20 laps later, laying debris on the track, forcing another virtual safety car. He was also investigated for ignoring blue flags, and despite finishing last on track, which was P16, doing a full race for Cadillac on debut, which included a 2.2 second pit stop, the team will be delighted in their efforts this weekend. It may be a new era in the sport, but the classics were out in full force. The French pair of former teammates Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon had a little ding-dong. the Haas driver being investigated for forcing Gasly off track as he tried to overtake. Everything rather died down after 60% of the race. Verstappen and Norris in the fight for P5 should have been the big crescendo to the race, but the Dutchman rather fell off in the last 5 laps, having followed for a while. But the chase for the final podium place was overlooked a little bit, Lewis reeling in Charles to finish less than a second behind his teammate in 4th. Lewis saying that he could have overtaken the Monegasque if the race was 2 laps longer. And I believe that's true. Just another question to why the Ferrari pit team didn't split the strategy. You can just imagine their smug faces on the pit wall as they proudly proclaim they were sticking to plan A. Years after going down the alphabet of race strategies, the one time they could have done something different and they didn't. They literally had nothing to lose. For the rest of the grid, shout out to Ollie Behrman. His P7 should not go unnoticed. The Brit in his sophomore year is getting that Haas to best of the rest. His battle with fellow Brit Arvid Lindblad was really cool to see, and that's why my winner of the weekend was Great Britain. All 5 drivers are getting into the points, George winning, Lewis and Lando P4 and 5, whilst the youngsters of Behrman and Lindblad coming in P7 and P8. In a year that, retirement aside, could see the top 8 locked in every race, Behrman seems to be the driver most likely to disrupt the big boys. 6 points is a massive start to the season. Also look at Gabriel Bortoleto, brilliant by the Brazilian, getting Audi points on debut, proving he can step up this season and take points when on offer. A mixed day for Audi with Hulk not starting the race, but good signs is that when the car is running, it is in the hands of 2 capable drivers. And a small win for Alpine, Pierre Gasly taking the final point on offer. Questions will be asked about the team yesterday, looking rather underwhelming after a promising test and practice, but when the car is capable of getting near the points and it's being driven by Pierre, it is more than likely going to finish in the top 10. Williams were rather non-existent in this race. I think the only time we saw one of them on the TV was when everyone bar Albon and Lawson across the checkered flag, a long way away from what they want to be at. So that is my review of the race, and I am sure that new information will be out in the coming days and hours. So should any of that come out, then it'll be in my driver and constructor power ranking videos coming in the next 2 days. Like and subscribe for more content this season, and if you're at it, get down in the comments and give me your thoughts on the race. I think the regulation change has been a decent start.